Well, the team news then first, and let's start by looking at Crystal Palace, because Steve Coppell didn't really have very much choice. 6 members of his first team squad are injured, including striker Ian Wright. Although John Salako wears the number 10 shirt, he may not play as a central striker. I think Steve's got a formation in mind that will unfold when the game gets underway. But Gary O'Reilly plays at centre-half because Jeff Hopkins is still injured. Now, as for Liverpool, Kenny Dalglish has, as expected, restored Peter Beardsley to the starting lineup. He was left out in midweek, and his other major decision concerned the fullback positions, and the vote has gone to Gary Gillespie wearing number 4 and David Burrows wearing number 3. So Barry Venison and Steve Staunton are both unlucky in the sense that they're on the bench, and Steve Nicol is still injured. Crystal Palace in the red and blue stripes will kick off, playing in the first half from left to right, and they are, to say the least, the underdogs. 4-1 against Crystal Palace to win this match were the odds, and Liverpool, as Bob has said, are the holders and the favourites. So with some supporters still coming into the ground, George Courtney gets the semi-final underway on time. And that's Thomas forward straight away for Palace, just testing Burrows. And it looks to me as if Salako is going to play over on the left for Crystal Palace, and it may be Phil Barber that's up with Mark Bright. That looks like the early formation. I'll get a word from Terry in a moment on that as we work out exactly what the tactics are. That's Jeff Thomas. Here's Pardew with McMahon. Thomas again. And Gary Gillespie gets forward menacingly for Liverpool. Surrounded by red shirts, but he almost found a way through. That was Andy Thorne. Terry.
Well, I see immediately, I think they're going to play 3 at the back. Shaw will join O'Reilly and Thorne at the back, and they're pushing in tight on the wide players. They're marking across the midfield very tight, and they're going to play Andy Gray up front with Bright and Barber pushing on the left, so they're going to play it as tight as they possibly can.
Yes, with John Pemberton, the number 2, detailed to mark John Barnes by the look of it also. Here's Hussain. There's Gray, but it's a foul. So Gray will push up when he can to support Bright, and so too will Barber. But as far as central strikers are concerned, Mark Bright having to plough something of a lone furrow, I would think. Here's Burrows. Rush and Beardsley in the middle, so is Barnes. Ray Houghton pulling at the back. Couldn't quite middle that. Here's McMahon. Pardew. And McMahon intercepting. Rush going to the left now. Onside. Ian Rush. Liverpool take the lead. And Ian Rush, the ace goal scorer, once again makes it look so easy. Palace never recovered from Pardew losing the ball in midfield to McMahon. And the penetrating pass found out the Palace defence. McMahon, who got the ball from the Palace player Pardew, slide rule ball, isn't it? They're looking for an offside, it never came, and as Nigel Martin narrowed the angle, Rush just jogged the ball past him with his left foot. And that's a moment of Liverpool history, because Ian Rush, with that goal, now becomes the second highest scorer in the history of the club. It's his 241st senior goal for Liverpool, and now only Roger Hunt has more.
It'll be very interesting, John, now to see how they go about the game from now on. They've coped fairly well, actually, until now, and they've looked as if they've coped for most things. It was a very risky thing to do to try and play offside in that position. I didn't think it was necessary. He could have just run with him. He was going away from goal. But nevertheless, it was a great finish.
Yes, it had Ian Rush written all over it, that, didn't it? This is Barnes. So the favourites take the lead. Here's Whelan. And Barnes sneaking in here. This time there is an offside flag. So after a quarter of an hour, Ian Rush, with his 32nd goal in the FA Cup alone, puts Kenny Dalglish's side in charge in this semi-final. Here's Pardew. And now it's Mark Bright. He shook off Hussein there. He's got Jeff Thomas and Andy Gray coming up in the centre. If he could have got the ball in there, then Palace had a chance. It's the first time they've really threatened to open Liverpool up. Here's Salako. Ray Houghton busying himself on that right-hand side defensively. Then Whelan. Now O'Reilly. And McMahon. Burrows. And Ian Rush seems to have gone down injured on the far side. This is Barnes still. And now it's Burrows, and there's an offside flag up. But back on the halfway line there, Terry. I think it was Ian Rush that got injured.
I think he's... looks to be struggling there a little bit, John. I don't know where he's got it.
So the player who's put Liverpool in front in this semi-final receiving attention, and Kenny Dalglish watching anxiously. Well, the applause is for Ian Rush. He's back on his feet, and he seems to have this happy knack of scoring when it matters in the FA Cup, doesn't he? 2 in the final on 2 occasions, and 1 today. With 25 minutes gone at Villa Park, Liverpool lead by that goal. Barber. I think Palace have only ever beaten Liverpool on 1 occasion in the last 18 meetings, back in 1971 at Selhurst Park, and they've lost twice to them this season. 2-0 at Palace, and of course the 9-0 at Anfield. So this semi-final, up to now, has gone according to the form book.
Well, I think it has, but I think we can still say that they've set about the job well, and I think they're doing quite well at Crystal Palace. Obviously disappointed to be losing, but they're still in the game up to now.
It's a mistake by Thomas, which has given Liverpool possession again, and McMahon. Beardsley brings Burrows into the game. Barnes has made a run through the inside left channel. Andy Gray is the player chasing back with Burrows. Did the job pretty well, and then Burrows fouled him. That's the second offence by David Burrows, and George Courtney's already had a word with him once.
They've done very well there, Andy Gray. He's very strong, he's very determined, and he's done his job right, but he's inclined to want to lay on the ground a little while.
Aimed towards Mark Bright. Ronnie Whelan got there. This is Pardew. Bright again. And there's Hansen now with Bright, who gets the ball in, and Hussein's in trouble against Barber. It's a corner. He recovered well. Corner to Palace now. Have they got a chance with Thorne and O'Reilly going up? Thorne into the near post position, O'Reilly behind him, Bright taking the far post. That's the lineup. And O'Reilly with Grobbelaar, who punched well. But here's Salako. Barnes.
I think he done well, Grobbelaar, there, because they were in trouble. I don't like the way they're marking on the near post. I feel sometimes Liverpool are a little bit vulnerable at set pieces defending.
For anybody just coming in late, Liverpool lead by 1-0. The scorer, Ian Rush. But a feast of football for you to look forward to today, of course. Here's Barnes. I'm sure our audience includes a whole host of professional players and managers. All of whom have played a part on the road to Wembley in some shape or form, no doubt. Here's Palace with Barber. Looking for Bright, who'd pulled away from Hansen, but Burrows came in with a covering header.
They're really sticking at it, John. I think they're working tremendously hard at Crystal Palace, and I think that really, if it, just for that one moment, they still could have been this as a goalless draw. I just feel now that they've got to get a bit of joy, perhaps a goal before half-time, which will give them the real lift that they need.
Yes, they did contribute to their own downfall a bit on the goal, because it was when Pardew gave the ball away to McMahon that there was no turning back then for Palace. The defence was split with one pass. Here's Beardsley. But Jeff Thomas is having a good match in midfield, number 8. Really leading the side well.
In actual fact, the passing has been quite good today, Liverpool. Not quite as we expect, and they've been caught in possession quite a few times, owing to the fact that they're pressing the ball, Crystal Palace, very hard.
Now Ian Rush, who we saw injured about 5 or 6 minutes ago, cannot carry on. So here's an unexpected change in the proceedings. Steve Staunton is going to come on. And the man who scored the goal by which Liverpool lead will play no further part in this semi-final. Disappointed Ian Rush.
Perhaps we won't be seeing some more danger of Ian Rush after all.
Free kick to Palace. O'Reilly's up there. And Grobbelaar comes out. Here's Jeff Thomas. But George Courtney has whistled. Now then, let's have a look at what Liverpool are going to do. Steve Staunton is wearing 14, and he's taken up a left-hand side position in midfield, and I think that means Barnes up front with Beardsley, don't you, Terry?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yes. And he really was looking sharp today, Rush. And I think he was going to give him... They won't be sorry he's gone off, I shouldn't think.
Well, John Barnes, of course, used to that central striking role. Indeed, he played there in midweek against Wimbledon when Beardsley was omitted. So, indeed, we'll watch that closely, because some people, of course, believe he might even be pushed up there for England, matter of opinion. Here's Barnes again. McMahon, looking for Beardsley. Richard Shaw's got to be quick here, he is. This is Barber. And Bright makes the run, and it just dropped for Grobbelaar.
What's interesting, John, is that Pemberton's gone with Barnes and playing centre-half, and O'Reilly's coming out here and playing against Staunton. That's a real surprise to me.
Well, that was Staunton who knocked that ball into Barnes. And Ray Houghton's made a dangerous run from outside right, and Andy Thorne covered. I understand it's a rib injury that has forced Ian Rush out of the action. And Liverpool having to press one of their substitutes into service, and Barnes into a new position. So 5 minutes left in the first half here at a sunbathed Villa Park, with the second part of our double bill to come up this afternoon. 3:30 kick-off at Main Road. Probably the players of Manchester United and Oldham among our viewers, I would think. Right. Two to beat there, and Alan Hansen gives away the corner, which will give Palace some hope. Barber will go across to take it. So Riley jumping, but Grobbelaar took it so cleanly. Bruce Grobbelaar hasn't conceded many goals in the FA Cup. One of them, of course, scored by our guest today, Ray Wilkins, in the last round. But there was no possibility there of Grobbelaar doing the same thing as he did then. Took it very comfortably. Here's Beardsley finding Staunton. O'Reilly with Barnes. There's 4 minutes left in the first half. Liverpool lead 1-0. McMahon, the man whose pass provided Rush with that opening. Now Gillespie. Thorne with Barnes. Barnes wandering across to the right now and causing Palace some concern. Staunton's offside. He's offside.
That's that same run again there, John. They're just trying to get across the back of the defence. And it did look offside, mate.
Liverpool aiming to reach the FA Cup final for the 4th time in 5 years under Kenny Dalglish's management. Pemberton for Palace. Andy Gray did that well. Thomas. Pardew. Barber. Salako out left. Bright waiting in the centre for a cross. Wasn't a good enough one. Hansen found McMahon. This is where Liverpool sometimes can be so dangerous. Barnes. Palace are getting players back now, but the run is by Peter Beardsley. The same run behind the central defenders. Nobody to his right at first, and he had to hold on. Staunton. Now they've opened it up again now. McMahon. Well, the shot was always on there. So what's your overall feeling about this half, Terry?
I think it's been a good game. I think that Crystal Palace have done very well. They've caught Liverpool continuously in possession, which is not always a very easy thing to do. They've worked very hard. I think the 2 midfield players have competed against McMahon and Whelan very, very well. And Thorne was organised well at the back.
But Liverpool lead 1-0. And although the man who scored the goal is off the pitch now injured, it's difficult in some circumstances to see Liverpool letting a game go when they have the chance to take a grip on it. We shall see. There's a minute left in the first half, so there is quite a long way to go. And as you rightly said, Terry, Palace haven't folded after that goal. They've had a decent share of the proceedings territorially. Here's Pardew. Thomas. Thorne. And Mark Bright's the target here. Hussein's header out, then Hansen. Appeals for handball against McMahon, but Palace have possession. Thorne. He's looking for Thomas. Barber. Against Houghton. Now it's Salako. Attacking the right-hand flank, but again the ball in by Salako wasn't a good enough quality to trouble Liverpool.
They seem to be getting, especially Salako, seems to be getting good crossing positions with space, and he doesn't seem to be able to clear the first defender. He's getting no height on his crosses at all.
That's what's made it frustrating for Mark Bright, really, because he's been taking up a reasonable position in there, but
that's right, yeah. It seems O'Reilly, funny enough, seems to be dealing at this moment in time anyway with Barnes better than he was with Ian Rush. And of course Liverpool now don't have the same threat down the left-hand side as when Barnes has gone from there.
Here is Barnes in his new role, and there is O'Reilly at his back, forcing him to play it to Hansen. It was Burrows who was well forward there. Thomas, a bit tight maybe for Barber. So we're in time added on for stoppages at the end of the first half in this first FA Cup semi-final of the day. Supporters who thought that Mark Bright might find a way through. The gate was shut in his face there. So the first half draws to a close with Liverpool, the holders and favourites, leading in this FA Cup semi-final. A goal scored on 15 minutes by Ian Rush, which puts Kenny Dalglish in good heart, although Rush's injury soon afterwards meant a substitution. But the man who made the goal with a precise pass from midfield was Steve McMahon, and it's that moment really which separates the two teams, and that alone at half-time, as in this bright sunshine they go back to their dressing rooms with the score: Liverpool 1, Crystal Palace 0. The half-time interval did give us both a chance to look at the goal again, didn't it, Terry? And any suggestion of offside was certainly wiped out when we saw it from that angle, because Rush timed his run perfectly, didn't he?
No question at all. Thorne, who liked to have been a little bit deeper and be behind his other two central defenders, was caught on his feet there flat, and I think that McMahon was able to play it past him. Rush made a good diagonal ball run behind him, and I think that O'Reilly just got caught flat also, and I think he just tried to appeal for offside really at the last second.
And while you've been talking, we've seen that Barry Venison is on at right back in place of Gary Gillespie, so Liverpool have now used both their substitutes at this comparatively early stage. Palace haven't used either of theirs yet, and we'll check on that too as they come out, but Rudy Hedman there is one of them, and the injuries that Liverpool have picked up have obviously meant reorganisation and an opportunity earlier, I suppose, than either Venison or Staunton expected, Terry.
I think you're right. I mean, he has played in every round. It looks like he's going to continue that run.
Barry Venison, who actually came on as a substitute, I recall, in the final itself against Everton. There's Ian Rush back changed. Disappointing end to the day for him, but his goal may still prove priceless. We shall see.
We mentioned Alan Hansen there at half-time. Ray Wilkins was speaking about him. His passing is exceptional, there's no doubt about it. But he's so patient, he's almost waiting and waiting for the right moment of delivery. The delivery of the ball is so important. And on the other hand, I think that Thorne also has been a big influence as far as Crystal Palace has been concerned.
Well, let's see what Palace can do about it now in the second half as they attack the Holt end here at Villa Park. John Pemberton, a lovely run early on, and a chance for Barber, and Venison, and it's a shot, and it's there by Bright. It's Mark Bright, straight from the kick-off. After John Solako's shot didn't quite get there, Bright certainly did, and Palace are level. What a dramatic start to the second half, and Liverpool are stunned. Well, it was John Pemberton here who takes so much credit. It was an inspired run. The cross met first of all by Venison, then Solako off target, but Mark Bright hammers that left-footed into the unguarded goal. Well, what a start to the second half for Crystal Palace. They are level, and Steve Coppell is back in business. When the play dies down, Terry, I'll get your reaction, but the way Palace have started the half, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next. Here's Beardsley. Well, I think the start of the second half was just an explosion. Pemberton got
incredible plays from nowhere, burst by two players, and there was two other chances there before Bright actually smashed it home. I mean, we've got a terrific game around now.
Well, John Pemberton, whose job today really was to mark John Barnes before the Liverpool switch, has suddenly become a thorn in Liverpool's side in an attacking sense, because that was, without question, the sort of run that can turn a match, and it's put this one back right on the boil. I don't know what was said to the Palace players in the dressing room by Steve Coppell and Ian Brandfoot and Alan Smith, the management team, but whatever it was, they came out with renewed zest, and they've got an early reward. Salako. This is Staunton. Burrows. That left-hand side of Liverpool was really stretched by that run. Here's McMahon. Whelan. Burrows. Ben Hussein to Barry Venison, whose first duty when he came on was really to try and stop that Palace attack. He was close to Barber on the cross. That fell for Salako in the end. And that's a foul by Venison on Barber. Quite a stiff challenge in actual fact. It gives Terry Venables a chance to reflect on the way this semi-final has turned.
Well, it really has exploded, and I think that we've got 40 odd minutes ahead of us. I think that we're going to be terrific. Pemberton, I mean, I didn't know where he came from, and the pace he showed was fantastic, John, wasn't it?
Yes, he just seemed to make up his mind to make that run right from the kick-off, and Liverpool just seemed to be caught out by it, didn't they, on that flank?
That's right.
He's a great lad off the pitch, John Pemberton. He's had, as many of Steve Coppell's players have, experience in the lower divisions at the places like Rochdale and Crewe. Being part of this occasion means so much to him. And he seemed to just suddenly make up his mind. He wanted to leave his impression on the semi-final.
Well, they certainly haven't shown any nerves. They look like they're loving every minute at the moment.
Bright jumping again. And there's Barber. And there's Andy Gray. And nearly Pardew. But Staunton was there.
As I said earlier, I think O'Reilly's dealing better with Barnes than he was with Rush. Barnes wants it to beat all the time, and he's quite happy there. But Rush obviously wanted to get behind him and constantly make diagonal runs and threaten the back of him.
Andy Gray has got a low flash point actually at times, and he got involved there with a couple of Liverpool players, and George Courtney having to administer his first serious lecture of this semi-final. He's a volatile character, Andy Gray, but he's very talented. And Jeff Thomas, the captain, may have to go forward and just also receive a warning word on behalf of his team, because George Courtney is determined to keep this under the calm control that he had in the first half. We've been playing 5 minutes in the second, and it's Liverpool 1, Crystal Palace 1. And if you were making a cup of tea and taking rather a long time over it, I suppose you could conceivably have missed the goal before you got back in front of the television.
Well, Liverpool were just caught completely cold, weren't they? I think they were still having a cup of tea in front of the television.
Right. And it's put this game back in the balance. And from the neutral point of view, who's complaining? And he might be wondering now whether that goal he scored is going to prove as important after all. It's chested down by Staunton for Burrows. McMahon is the player on the left wing. Andy Thorne is the defender. Barnes. And Barnes again. Houghton's in the middle. And Beardsley's there as well for Liverpool. And it hits Richard Shaw. Two hopeful appeals for hands, but nothing serious.
It's certainly the best move they've had this after.
But here come Palace with Thomas. And on the far side, Mark Bright's there again. Andy Gray's in the middle this time. So is Thomas. And there's Thomas! Oh, and Grobbelaar does it on the line. An extraordinary 60 seconds. surging run down the right, got a beautiful ball in, and it's Andy Gray who beats the defender, and what a good save.
There was a fantastic change of ends there. From being 2-1 up, they could have easily been 2-1 down, John.
Well, it could have, as you say, yes. Both defences were struggling there. It's developing into a really good game, this semi-final. Sometimes they're nervous, tense affairs without much incident, but in this second half especially, the game in general has really come to life. And the crowd joining in to lift the occasion as Liverpool have the free kick. It's Staunton. And Bright is now defending for Palace. Whelan, Hussain, Beardsley. Well, the sheer uncertainty of the FA Cup is what gives it its glamour, isn't it, and its magic, and you can never predict what's going to happen on these one-off occasions, can you?
Well, we spoke about incidents and good movements and finishing, but that really was a fantastic save from Robert. He seemed to find another 6 inches from out his arm there.
Yes, it was a typical example of what good reactions he has, wasn't it? And Palace had done well again to get people forward in the box. Gray it was who nearly scored. Now it's Hussain getting forward for Liverpool, but falling over in the process. And Jeff Thomas finds Phil Barber. Grobbelaar, so athletic on his line, and made a save there that could just have tipped the scales in this cup tie. We'll have to wait and see how significant it proves. Nigel Martin would have admired it from the other end. It's John Pemberton who made the goal. It's a foul. Alan Hansen on Mark Bright. And free kick to Palace, which could spell a bit of danger. They've got Gary O'Reilly, I know, just going forward to help Bright in there. And now they've waved Andy Thorne up as well. Andy Gray has placed the ball. That's his cross. And Bright's there. O'Reilly's there! And Palace! Are they in front? Yes, they are! Liverpool stood there and could really not believe it. And Gary O'Reilly from the back found room in the penalty area. From the set play, which people felt would be a Palace strength, or maybe a Liverpool weakness, O'Reilly drives the ball past Grobbelaar, and just for a moment the whole crowd seemed to freeze. But it was a good goal, and it's 2-1 Palace.
Well, there was a set piece I was talking about. They certainly do look vulnerable. Staunton had first chance to clear it and missed it completely. And I think that Malcolm Harris's point about being physically stronger, I wouldn't say is necessarily correct throughout the side, but certainly in the back four, they look, and the central defence, they look to have appeared a little tired, I think.
It's Hansen. Looking for Beardsley. Well, Liverpool have really got to fight for their lives now, haven't they? It's a free kick. Salako on Houghton. 10 minutes to go, and trouble here for Palace possibly. Mark Bright has gone back to help them defend. Barnes, Whelan and Hussain waiting to come in a line of three as Staunton and Venison address the ball. Staunton to Venison, right across the goal, McMahon! Oh, it's there! It's 2-2! Steve McMahon! So, the free kick now works for Liverpool, and a nice, unexpected one it was too, how they worked that. Venison's low drilled cross, it comes out to Steve McMahon, and that's a fabulous shot. 2-2.
Well, it was a first-class finish. They just got caught up in there, Crystal Palace, on a free kick. It was had a lot of invention in it.
No chance for Nigel Martin. That was as true as an arrow from Steve McMahon. Barry Venison, the substitute, who provided the cross from a cleverly worked free kick. And as they used to say in Bill Shankly's time and since, you never rule Liverpool out. And with 10 minutes to go, it's all square again. But what a semi-final. Where do we go from here? Extra time, perhaps?
I don't know where we're going, but I'm certainly enjoying it, John.
Well, you, I think, Terry, 40,000 inside the ground and millions at home. What a football match. Beardsley. Oh, look at this. Staunton. Penalty. Pemberton on Staunton. George Courtney has pointed the spot. And Pemberton is distraught. Well, I'm not sure about that from here. Staunton is in the box, there's no doubt about that. But was he pushed? Well, the referee couldn't have been closer, could he? You couldn't fault George Courtney's positioning, and somebody has said too much. Poor John Pemberton is now being booked as well. And in a matter of a couple of minutes, the whole scene here has changed. Steve Staunton was the player who went down. Liverpool have been given a penalty from which they've had mixed luck this season. They've missed a few, they've scored a few, but now the £1 million goalkeeper, Nigel Martin, has to face John Barnes. The Palace players are talking to Barnes, I'm not sure what's being said. George Courtney has booked Pemberton, he's given the penalty kick, and the cup holders could strengthen their grip on the trophy here. The goalkeeper went the right way, but the kick was true in the corner, and Liverpool lead by 3 goals to 2. And from being 2-1 up, Palace are suddenly dumped on their backsides and can't really believe what's happened to them. Most of all, Pemberton.
Well, it's an incredible turnaround in just 2 or 3 minutes, and to be fair, it looked like Liverpool wasn't going to do it, and they got that very good free kick, and now they're in front.
Just over 3 minutes, Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace 2, in one of the most exciting semi-finals, or certainly the second half, that I can remember. And the emotions on the bench, well, they must feel they've been on a roller coaster ride over there. Steve Coppell is standing. His team were 10 minutes away from Wembley, let it be said. They're now less than 3 minutes away from going out. Thomas, and Bright's in there, and Thomas, Staunton, Gray, 3-3, Andy Gray for Palace, they're back in it, and Liverpool's defence all over the place. It's a free kick again, a set play, and keep your eye on number 4, Andy Gray, because when all this is over, Robillard comes, doesn't make it, Thomas, Staunton, Gray, 3-3. Well, Robillard did punch it, but not far enough, only to Jeff Thomas, and it span up off Staunton's chest. The man who actually got the penalty for Liverpool has now virtually delivered the pass for Steve Coppell's team to equalise. 2 minutes to go. Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace 3, and this one is going down in semi-final folklore. Barnes. Again. And it's still John Barnes, and well stopped by Martin because Beardsley was right in for the rebound.
John, I think this might bring the fans back.
Well, I think if we had more football like this, more excitement like this, it would generate even more of an increase in the great that we're having at the moment anyway. It's great stuff, isn't it? And the armchair audience must be on the edge of their seats too. Here's Bright. Foul by Hansen, is it? Yes. Now, twice from free kicks, Palace have scored. Liverpool have also scored from one, of course, but what sort of a finish could we be in for here? There is a minute to go of the 90. Barber will take the kick. Thorne, O'Reilly and Bright are all lined up. Brightson, has it gone straight in? No, it isn't a goal. It's a free kick. Time beckons now. But hold on, a free kick again. So once more, O'Reilly and Thorne take up their positions. And once again, Gray prepares to bend the ball in.
Still, they just didn't even move at all there, John.
It's amazing, isn't it, this? Against the crossbar in the dying seconds. Andy Gray to take the corner. Stoppage time. Robert struggling again. Flags up though, he was fouled.
They put so many men in there, and there's so many men of Liverpool trying to combat against them, and he's trying to come out amongst those players, and he's finding that very difficult.
I think we'll need to see all the goals again just to remind ourselves what's happened. Here's Hussein, but what we have got is extra time. Quite amazing what happened in that second half. I don't think the players have managed to catch up with it yet themselves. The game has swung one way and then the other. And Palace looked to be on their way to Wembley, then they looked out of it, then suddenly they were back in it. And as you saw there, that header from Andy Thorne that clipped the crossbar could have made all the difference. O'Reilly. Oh, difficulties here for Palace. Barnes. Well won back by Thomas. Gray. This is Barber. Pardew now. Three waiting in the centre for a cross for Palace. Salako provides it. Thomas in there. Robert missed it! Is it? No, the whistle's already gone. Glenn Hussein, I think, must have been fouled. Alan Hansel, I think, put the ball in his own net in the end. I don't know whether I've got that right, Terry, but it seemed as though he did. But maybe he'd heard the whistle. It was given for a push, because Glenn Hussein went down. Forward by Thorne, looking for Bright. Hussein is with him. Tried to turn inside in corner to Palace. Well, they've made such good use of their set plays, Crystal Palace, that you wouldn't rule them out now. Andy Gray has gone across to take it. Andy Thorne, who hit the bar in, the last minute was it of normal time? He's gone up again, number 6. Gary O'Reilly, who scored from that sort of position, from a free kick, is also there. Barber's on the line, and Bright is waiting too. Thorne flicked it on, and it's gone in! Pardew! 4-3 Palace! The flick on by Andy Thorne made all the on, and somewhere out the crowd came Pardew. It went over Glenn Hussein's head, but this is Houghton, there's danger. Barnes! Oh, and Nigel Martin! Well, that save might have been worth £1 million, you never know. From John Barnes' downward header when he looked odds on to score. Ray Houghton delivers the cross. Barnes heads it down back towards where Martin was coming from, and the keeper was grateful. Well, I don't condone time wasting, but in Palace's situation you can forgive it today, can't you? After all we've been through here. The referee has given the goal kick. He's looked across at his linesman. He's checked his watch again. George Courtney. Everybody's looking at him. When will he blow? Crystal Palace 4, Liverpool 3, and Crystal Palace are at Wembley. They've beaten Liverpool, whose dream of the double is destroyed, in one of the most amazing matches, surely, in the recent history of the FA Cup. Steve Coppell runs off, and the Palace supporters celebrate one of the most unexpected and dramatic victories that I can remember happening, certainly at this stage of the competition. Alan Pardew is the man whose name comes out of nowhere, the former Yeovil player. His goal has sent Crystal Palace to Wembley, and the final score at a thrilled Villa Park after extra time is Crystal Palace 4, Liverpool 3.